r/ask Reddit. What's the rudest thing a guest in your home has done? I had a friend who used to jump onto furniture like lawn chairs and stuff. He claimed it wouldn't break it, but sometimes he did break stuff and he just complained it's not his fault but that the furniture was too fragile. You have a shitty friend. Honey, John's coming over. Hide all the furniture. Hide it behind the front door, so he can't come in. Let their child punch our brand new TV and laughed as he did it as if it was cute. Makes me so mad when other people's kids are being shitty and the parents think it's so cute and do nothing about it. Those kinda people are just accidental parents. I knew one such mom when I was a kid. Her kid literally punched me in the nose at a party and all she did was sit and stare while someone else's mom had to come rushing in to save the day. Well, that's what my mom told. Apparently she was like this everywhere and eventually everybody just stopped inviting her as she had seemed to have no interest in even the slightest bit of parenting. My 10-year-old distant cousin unwrapped 3 new bars of soap and flushed them down the toilet on the 3rd floor of my house. That night, we returned from dinner to find water dripping from the ceiling on the 1st floor. The 3rd floor bathroom had flooded and the water leaked through the floor, dripped from the ceiling of the 2nd floor, and leaked though to the ceiling of the 1st floor. The whole mess cost thousands of dollars to repair. The kid confessed everything with great glee and his mother just thought it was the funniest thing. Would have sent them the bill. Would she think it's funny then? Absolutely. Tried to crawl into bed with me while I was asleep with my husband next to me in bed. Creepy and rude. Your kids? LOL. No, a very inebriated and seriously mental friend. My kids just stand over me while the room is pitch black staring at me, and I imagine trying telepathically to wake me up. I'd take either of them over friend any day. Stole money from our engagement cards at our house during our engagement party. What were they addicted to? Man, if you ask someone from this thread, there are too many beta references to choose from. My mum welcomed a faraway cousin or someone into our house. He walked into the kitchen where my dad was sitting watching TV and said, "And who the duck is this?" Your mom's boyfriend came unannounced and was surprised to see another guy. When I was in university, one of roommates asked if a high school friend of his from back home could come visit and stay in our apartment for a night or two. I agreed, but I was writing midterms and was stressed beyond belief, so I firmly requested that they not party at our place so that I could get to sleep uninterrupted. I came home from the library at 11 PM and they were both shit-faced. My roommate was passed out in his bedroom. There was rank smelling puke all over the toilet seat. And his friend had brought a girl home from the campus bar and was currently having sex in my bed. WTF. I kicked his and her asses out of the apartment, and then ended up doing laundry at 11:30 PM because my sheets were sweaty and covered in their duck juices. I no longer speak with this roommate. My university roommate would tell people at her parties that they could go have sex in my bedroom if I wasn't there. Unfortunately, the door only locked from the inside. So every time I left for the weekend, I would stack furniture and appliances Tetris style onto my bed until it reached the ceiling. It worked really well. Only one horny couple managed to dismantle about a third of the pile before giving up. Worth the effort. I've made this post before, so I'll just copy paste it here. Not my house but my car. I don't have many rules for passengers when I'm driving, but there are 2 I will never budge on. 1. Wear your seatbelt. 2. Do not smoke in my car. I had just bought a car. It wasn't brand new, but I knew the previous and only owner, and I knew he was a car guy who took meticulous care of his cars inside and out. He wouldn't even sell me the car before he had given the engine a proper service. Within a week of getting the car, a friend asked for a lift to the train station. I knew he smoked, so as we walked to the car I told him specifically to wait until we get to the station before he lights up. A 10-minute ride at most. I back out of the parking spot, drive to the exit of the parking lot, and as I check my left hand side for oncoming cars I hear from my right the distinctive sound of a lighter sparking up. Dude could not even ducking wait until we were out of the ducking car park before he just had to have his goddamn cigarette. I ask him what the hell he thinks he's doing, and he just looks at me and says, "Relax. It's not like it's a new car." Ducker ended up walking to the train station. Good lad. I never smoke in cars or people's houses unless they do so themselves, and even then I feel uncomfortable. Can't imagine doing it after being specifically told not to. Male friend asked that my partner and I take ourselves and our 12-month-old daughter to a motel for a night whilst he uses our house to try his luck with one of our female friends we invited over for a game night. I have to know how he broached this question. Told their children ages 4 and 8 that they can put their feet with their shoes on our furniture. Their justification was that we let our dog get on the furniture. My husband told them no feet on our furniture previously and this pissed the parent off. I was going to post about the time I was really angered by friends of friends staying and emptying our bar fridge. It was fully stocked with beer, emptying the wine fridge, also stocked, and a random bottle of Baileys. None of these things go together, heathens, and not offering to replace any of it, while making themselves completely at home and even inviting guests over to view their place. But in reading these, I'm starting to feel much better that no meth was involved. Maybe it's time for me to let that grudge go. I take it they weren't of drinking age. My old roommate had the tendency of inviting all the college freshmen over, who loved her because she was over 21 and always had weed. Nothing like coming home from a long work day to see all the parking spaces are taken. The house is filled with weed smoke, and they are drinking your after work beer. Never once did she or they clean, replace my food and booze. Yeah, never happened. If you're reading this, Heather, duck you. You are the shittiest roommate I've ever had. Drank half of the $200 bottle of tequila I got my wife for her birthday. She filled it up with water so we wouldn't notice. Oh. Sounds like she owes you $200. My ex-girlfriend got shit-faced drunk at my grandmother's funeral, then got into a screaming match with my brother and dad in the front yard. That's so trashy. Not how most people pay their respects to grandma. Oh, I forgot this one. A friend of a relative stayed with my parents for a week. The guy was Argentinian, late 50s. He was very old-fashioned, religious etc. For example, he even told my parents that it was wrong that I was living with my boyfriend without being married. One day he asked my mum to use her PC to check his email was in there for quite a while. Right, you guessed it, he was watching porn. But I guess he didn't remember the website he wanted because he first googled in Spanish young ladies with dark hair having sex and a few variations of that. My mum found all that in her internet history, called him out. He tried to blame my then 16-year-old brother, who had his own PC, speaks mostly English, wouldn't have googled in Spanish, and was away on a camping trip. He wasn't welcomed back. My really close friend brought his now ex-girlfriend that was super controlling over while me and a few other friends were hanging out. About 30 minutes and she decided that she is going to go into my super white bathroom and dye her hair black. Not only this, but if you've never dyed your hair before, you must rinse your hair out to get excess dye out. She ended up staining my white counters, bathtub, shower, floor, 2 decorative towels, my carpet outside the bathroom and my toilet. I was so irate and I don't think she understood that you do not do this shit in someone else's house without asking them. Literally everyone that was over, including me, told her to get her now just showered naked ass out of my house. I was so done because she just stained so much shit that will not come out easy. It makes my blood boil thinking about it now. When a niece came in and immediately stood in front of the TV and changed the channel. She was around 15. There was several people watching it. Most of my friends' kids, age 7-11, have this problem. I tell their parents every single time. This is unacceptable behavior for a civilized human being, and I figure it's better that their random aunt is a dong about it than every possible friend and mate that they meet for the rest of their lives think they're a selfish twat. I had a house guest invited by a roommate have a psychotic breakdown. He literally came into all our rooms, rummaged through our drawers, and left anything of sexual value on top of the dresser or nightstand as if to announce that he went through it all. Condoms, lube, birth control pills, etc. He found ways to expose himself and walked in on my roommates having sex. We kicked him out inside of 48 hours. It should have been sooner. We changed the locks. We actually all knew this guy and hosted him before and he was great. We were cleaning house a few months later and found a bag of his pubes. Let her dog, who was on a leash, pee on me and continued talking to finish her thought before taking him outside. She also didn't help clean it up. You didn't interrupt with "what the duck is wrong with you?" My grandfather's cousin was staying with us for a week. He has a bladder problem and would refuse to wear adult diapers. What followed was him leaving a trail of pee, sometimes poo, when he walked around the house. Didn't take too long for my mother to ask his son to take him back home. All I can say is, if you're leaving trails of fesses behind you, it's time to get off your high horse and into some diapers. Picked up my very small poodle. Held her on her back with 2 hands over a 10-featuring balcony. If my dog would have even wiggled, she would have fallen to her death. I had a friend visit once. Was in the area on the way to something else. I had a ferret at the time. Ferrets tend to bite. I always warn people. He bit her under the arm and she grabs him and throws him to the ground. I react calmly but tell her off to some degree. She then asks if she can take him to show some other friend she's beating up with. Like, what the hell is wrong with people? You just showed me you can't even handle him in the house. You think I'm going to let you take him out in public? A few friends and I were having some drinks last summer when a guy we know showed up at my house uninvited with a friend of his who was so drunk he immediately passed out on my couch. This now sleeping dude drove both of them to my house. Guy continues to get plastered and do coke. Complained about the music we were listening to and kept trying to put his own terrible punk band on. He cornered my wife and demanded she change her shirt because he has beef with the singer in the band on her shirt. Refused to sit in anything other than a broken chair that we had to put in another room when he went to the bathroom. Then complained when it was 6 AM and we said we're going to bed. Waking his drunk friend up saying I guess we're getting kicked out. Then they both left in drunk dude's car. My boyfriend invited a couple dudes over while I was at work because we only have a 1-bedroom apartment and I don't always enjoy sitting there watching them game. It was considerate. Anyways, he was asleep and they were gone when I got home since I work 3rd shift. I noticed my new bathroom mat was discolored and assumed it was from shoes and didn't closely observe. Anyways, I made him look at it with me when he got up because I was a bit mad since it was brand new. Upon further observation, we came to the conclusion that before leaving, his friend wiped shit all over my new bathroom mat. It turned out to be brown finger streaks across the whole thing. Threw that out immediately. The toilet paper was readily available BTW. They are not allowed in the apartment anymore. And it was weird because they weren't on bad terms, they actually wanted to hang out again. Insisted on making dinner. Burned the steaks. Insisted on making hamburgers. I told him I didn't like onions. Made the hamburgers with chunks of onions. I tried to eat one, but chunks of raw onions is not something I want to eat. He made beans in a crock pot, but didn't refrigerate them overnight. Just left them out in the crock pot. Plugged it in the next morning and let them cook all day the second day. Claimed if there was any bacteria in there, cooking it killed it all. Repeated for a week. Spouse and I ate the beans the first night and refused any leftovers. We had record heat for days on end, so we ran the air conditioning. He would not quite shut the door to the outside, leaving a small crack letting the cool air out and his smoking in. Every time I passed by, I'd shut the door till it latched. Worse, we had indoor only cats and they would occasionally escape because he could not understand that the door needed to be shut. He left open potatoes chip bags in the pantry. It wasn't any one thing. Although food poisoning and endangering the cats were pretty close, it was a conglomeration of a lot of little things. I forgot about the girl I hadn't seen in years showing up to my parents' house unannounced. I was so happy to see her. So she came home with me and we ate dinner and caught up on life. She stayed the night since it was so late. The next day she confessed she was just released from jail and had nowhere to go. We tried getting rid of her for weeks. Then one day we stopped in Walgreens for something and she stole stuff. After that my grandpa told her to suck off a trucker if she had to, but she was leaving no matter what. I dropped her off at the train station. She called me 20 minutes later but I refused to answer. Haven't heard from her since. Neighbor and my dad were talking in the living room when they both watched his son knock chocolates all over an expensive carpet. The neighbor then let my 60-year-old dad get on his hands and knees to fish around 20 chocolates without helping and continuing the conversation as though it hadn't happened. This was the same neighbor who let his son knock glass baubles off our Christmas tree and didn't apologize. It was the same neighbor who asked my mum to pick up bottled water and wine from the shop for a party she wasn't even invited to. It was all the subtle things that make you think you're a bit of a dong, aren't you? Then, It was the same neighbor who lived above us that didn't come around to look at the damage his broken boiler had done when the water drenched our very large bookcase and then seeped to the floor below to our kitchen. He and his wife were the same neighbors who asked us the first time we had met when we were moving out because they wanted to buy the entire house. He tried to buy it 5 years later, but we rejected his bid, waiting for a higher bidder, which came the next day. Left their drunk girlfriend in my house emotionally distraught, charged back and was very aggro with my roommate, and then proceeded to decide they were entitled to sleeping in my bed and getting drunker. Wasn't in town to defend my house and was very angry to find evidence of someone sleeping in my room, much less my bed. I had been on a few dates with this guy. One night after we went out, he dropped me off at my apartment and we were talking. The conversation was getting long and I was super tired, so I told him I was going to go to sleep and it was time for him to go. He insisted on walking me up to my bedroom, which I thought was a little weird, plus my room was super messy at the time and I was embarrassed. I said it a bunch of times, but he really didn't seem to get the message that I was just going to stay in the living room until he left. So I said that I had just gotten really tired and I would just fall asleep on the couch. Maybe that would get him to leave. No, it prompted him to go upstairs into my bedroom, take the comforter off my bed, and bring it downstairs to the couch for me. I never went out with him again. They brought a hooker and spilled the hot coals on my carpet. They then yelled at me to clean it up. That was the last time I ever allowed anything close to a party at my house. Stole $100. But this story has a happy ending. When I was young, I had 3 friends over, all of them brothers. The oldest was my age. The middle was a couple years younger, same age as my brother, and they had brought their youngest brother with them. He was a little beach. Well, that day my dad let me hang onto a $100 bill because I thought it was cool and had never seen one. I showed it off to my friends and left it on my side table. I didn't even notice it go missing. Well, here's how the story goes. My friends had left, and when they got near their house, the youngest brother pulled out the $100 and said, "Hey guys, look what I took." The 2 older brothers got pissed. They dragged him crying all the way back to my house, handed me the $100 that I hadn't even realized was missing, and forced him to apologize. Friends of integrity right there. I hate when people bring their dogs. I mean, if you want your dog inside, that's your decision. But don't force it on me and my dog-free home. I have dogs, but it is proper etiquette to ask first. My in-laws don't allow dogs in the house, so my indoor dog is an outdoor dog while we visit, or we get a hotel. Simple. Your house, your rules. Came to a house party and had a shower in the middle of it. Washed his hair with vinegar in our one bathroom. Would not leave the next day until 40 minutes after I had asked. Tried steam cleaning around them. Finally breathed out a sigh of relief, went to shower my hangover away. Put on a towel. The vinegar nearly spewed. A sadder one. My housemate at the time let an ex-girlfriend of his stay at our place when she was in town for the weekend. She spent the entire time lying on our couch watching TV doing whippets, nitrous gas. She was hardcore addicted. Like she'd crack one every 10 minutes it seemed. Showed up with boxes and boxes of them and just let them pile up on the ground beneath her. After like 36 hours of this, my housemate finally convinced her to go outside for a walk or something. Another friend of mine and I cleaned it all up. I wish we'd counted, but there were easily 100 of the small canisters. I think he kinda tore into her about it and told her to get help. She left shortly thereafter. I heard a while later that she quit doing it because she had nerve damage in her foot from it and it was permanently numb. Be careful with drugs, kids. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.